Hi, I'm Elizabeth Cayouette, Sony Alpha Female winner and commercial director, videographer, and editor. I'm thrilled to be here today speaking at the Sony Commercial Video Conference, and I'm going to take you through my 10 tips and tricks for awesome commercial videos. Let's get started. My number one tip is to stay on top of video trends so that you can give your client what they want and what they don't even know that they want yet. I like to constantly save videos that I see on TikTok, Instagram, social media, YouTube, even ads I see on TV, so that when I'm talking with a client about an upcoming shoot, I have lots of ideas to pull from. This is super helpful because even if they don't want to do exactly what you pulled, they can say, I like this or I don't like this. The second part of this is to make sure you actually know how to accomplish anything that you're showing them. This might mean practicing it on your own time. If I see a video with an awesome transition on TikTok, I go out and make the exact same video myself so that I know that I can confidently accomplish it on set. Videos that teenagers are making on TikTok may look simple, but they're actually more complicated than you think, and you want to make sure that you overperform as soon as you're on set. I would also make sure that in your initial meetings with the client, when you're going over what will happen on the shoot, you tell them what each video entails. I work in fashion. I work for Aerie by American Eagle, and so if we're doing an awesome outfit transition video based on swipe that someone pulled, I want to make sure to tell them if it has to be the same model in every shot, all at the same location, or if it'll just take a really long time based on how many outfit changes there are. You know, you don't want anyone to be surprised, so it's best to be upfront so that everyone knows what will happen once you start shooting it, and there's no surprises when a video takes 2 hours to accomplish. And if they come to you with some awesome video that they want to do, go out and practice it before you have to shoot it on set. A transition always looks easy if it's done well, but you want to make sure you can do it perfectly. My second tip is to make sure that you know the crops that they need. Sure, it may sound simple to just go and get B-roll on every outfit, but you might need to shoot each look differently depending on the crops there are. I would shoot something differently for a wide crop versus if it'll only be used in a vertical crop. Then I wouldn't really need to worry so much about what's on the side of the frame. With that in mind, it's good to think about what gear you want. For example, I might shoot on a cinema camera most of the time, but if I'm shooting something that's always going to be vertical, if I'm shooting a TikTok, say, I would bring a camera that I can shoot true vertical on, which would be my Sony a7S III because it's phenomenal, and I would make sure I have a lens that I like for that video. So if you're trying to emulate an iPhone, you might not need a low f-stop, but if you want something to look really cinematic, I might want one with a 2.8. You just want to make sure that you're prepared for what the video is, not just for videos. I always like to study the spec sheet and think about it. So say this one video has a wide crop, a square crop, and a vertical crop, and a TikTok. I might shoot that one outfit several different ways. I'll get wide shots, I'll get wide shots with dirty sides that I know I'll crop in on and use for the vertical. I'll get tight shots that will be too tight for vertical, so then I'll need a mid shot for that close-up for the vertical, and I can use the super tight and the wide. And I might get some stuff that feels more organic and feels selfie style to use only in the TikTok. You really should be the person who's most on top of what's needed. It's great to think that everyone on set is thinking of the usage of the video and of each shot, but in reality, it's your job to be on top of this. So make sure you're thinking about the specs and about what gear you need to best accomplish those specs, whether that's different lenses or totally different cameras, and it's okay to bring along multiple. I think it's actually a great practice. I never want to be stuck with just one camera in case something happens to it, but I love to bring a camera that I only use to shoot vertically on. Keeping that in mind, you should also think about what camera settings you should be using. So do you want to shoot in slow-mo? Do you want to shoot at 24 frames? Do you want to shoot at 60 frames but play it at full speed? It's great to touch base with the client on this, but make sure that you're thinking about how the video will be used. Is this an epic B-roll cut that you might want slow-mo for, Or is it something you're gonna hyperlapse and have to speed up anyway? Or is there talking and you wanna make sure to shoot it at full speed? Just make sure you think about your settings, your lenses, your body, and what you'll be doing with the shots. Tip number 3, scout your location, and if possible, do it at the same time of day that you're going to be shooting at. There are a lot of great apps you can use if you're there at a different time of day to see where the sun will be, but if you can go at the exact same time, I would highly recommend it. Locations can look super different in the scout photos versus in person, and you might realize that a spoken video you were going to do in one spot will never work because there's construction next door. There's a lot that you just don't get until you're there in person, and if at all possible, I would always make sure to scout your location. Tip number 4, lighting is everything. I didn't truly realize this until I was working at the professional level, but now that I work with bigger clients, I've realized that good lighting makes a huge difference. 1, videos with better lighting are promoted in social media algorithms. 2, when people can't put their finger on what is so good about an image, more often than not, it was lit beautifully. And 3, who doesn't want flattering light? A lot goes into a good lighting setup. Hopefully, you have a lighting crew on your set who can help you, but especially if you don't, you should make sure you bake in plenty of time to get the light right. And you should be prepared to constantly change the lighting, even while you're shooting the same look or the same scene. If the sun changes and you're outside, you've got to change the lighting. Do not try to just fix it in post. If you have to, fine, but you should never be on set and say, oh, don't worry too much, like we'll fix it in post. No. You fix it there, and then they can make it even more magnificent in post. Take time lighting, try not to get flustered, and pull in other people because you're going to need people holding bounce cards, you're going to need help, you're going to need another eye. When you're shooting, you should have someone else watching the light as well so that you can focus on your angles, your camera settings, your lens, your aperture. You want to be able to focus on your shot and have someone who is solely dedicated to looking at the lighting and helping you. You need a brilliant lighting assist. This is especially important if you're shooting in a compressed format, meaning you basically are stuck with what you get. You can do minimal adjustments, but you're not able to change exposure truly in post. If you're shooting raw, you have more wiggle room, but that doesn't change the light, it just changes your exposure. So if something is underexposed, you can bring it up, but you should make all efforts to make sure you're getting light in their eyes and your image is well lit while you're on set. Tip number 5 is to compliment your talent. I think I didn't realize this the full first year that I was shooting, but the first shot of the day is so important and sets the tone for the rest of the shoot. On your first shot with each model, you should be more vocal than you usually are. I'm a really quiet shooter, but on the first shot, I really make an effort to tell them what I like about what they're doing and to build them up so that they have the confidence to take ownership of their movement and move more naturally for the rest of the shoot. If someone feels really nervous, their movements won't be free, and that is really tough for video. For photo, it's a bit easier because you're taking still frames, but for video, when you want people kicking, dancing, jumping around, you need them to feel comfortable, and the best way to do that is to build up their confidence early on. That first shot will set the tone for the rest of the day, so make sure to hammer home how awesome they are. And if there's things you want them to change, that's fine. You can get to that, and you can even suggest they do certain things, but I would use positive reinforcement. Say they have a great kick, but their spin looks a little wobbly. Maybe we don't spin in the first shot. Maybe in the first shot you tell them how awesome their kick is, or how awesome it is when they move confidently or move quickly, so then the spin is quicker the next time. Use positive reinforcement, especially on the first shot, to build up your model's confidence, and the whole rest of your shoot will go better. Tip number 6 is to be prepared to demo what you want. That means if I want my model to do a high kick, I'm ready to put my camera down, take the easy rig off, and do a high kick. I want to be able to demo what they should do, and then, because they're professionals, they do it and look much better than I ever could. I also love pulling swipe. So for example, if I want someone to jump a certain way, I might have a video on my phone prepared to show them of someone else jumping in a similar way. And this is especially helpful for special assets, which is what I like to call transition videos or videos shot to a specific concept. Seeing an example is amazing. It's like a light clicks when they see it and they're like, oh, that's what you were trying to explain. That's what I should do. And then they can do it and they can put their own spin on it and be creative because they understand what you're talking about. If you're shooting inside, you can even have like a full wall of like poses, or you can have a folder on your desktop to pull up that's just full of examples of awesome shots. They could be shots you've done, or you could pull inspo from other brands. I also love to know the music that the campaign will be set to before I shoot, because then people move to it. If you play your campaign song on set, then all the dancing they do will be kind of timed to the music, even if they're not professional dancers. You won't be fitting in dancing that was done to a different song. Say you're having someone dance to a song at 120 beats per minute, but your song for the campaign is 60 beats per minute, it might look a little off. Having the campaign music playing is so amazing because you can get awesome movement, and sometimes you'll even get them to lip sync a little bit if you play it enough times. I'll play it on loop if they let me, you know. I love it. So be prepared to show the models exactly what you want, because they're not the only ones bringing poses to the table. You can pose, you can show them what you want, and just be prepared. Research, study. Like, I know no one went into video thinking they would stay up late at night studying, but I do because I want my videos to be the best. Tip number 7 should be self-explanatory, but I've learned that it is not. Back up your footage to multiple hard drives, at least 2, and never, ever, ever delete it. You should always have it saved in 1, if not 2 places. What I recommend is getting a drive that's super fast. Like, I love a good Glyph SSD drive. Super fast, I can run my raw footage off it, but then, say 6 months later, when I know I'm not going to need the footage anymore, at least in theory, I'll move the footage to a cheaper drive, and then it can sit there in storage, and I'll still have it on 2 drives, and I'll be able to reuse that high-speed drive, but I know that my footage is safe, the projects are safe, everything is preserved. And when I'm on location, I back it up separately to 2 drives. And I back it up card to drive, card to drive. I don't run card to 2 drives at once. I don't want anything to be corrupted. I'm not doing it in the backseat of a moving car. No. I have enough cards to go all day without wiping a card, and then at night, when everything is still and quiet and I'm relaxing, I back up the footage if I didn't have time to do it during the day during a break. But make sure it's in multiple places so that you're safe. I have like a recurring nightmare that all of my footage gets deleted, so I try to be extra conscious of this, but you do not want to lose all of your hard work and you don't want to upset your client. So make sure it's backed up 2 places forever. Like, these drives should live in the back of your closet and they should go with you when you move. Like, you should be holding on to them. Tip 8 is really for the editors, but maybe some of you videographers are also editing your own footage. Scrub through everything. Don't just look for your favorite shot of the day, scrub through it all. I cannot tell you how many times we've used things that I actually forgot that I shot, or that I didn't even like, but it ended up working with the style of the shoot. I recently cut a video that was 70s inspired, and I ended up using a ton of stuff that I didn't pull it in my selects. I never expected to use it. It was shaky, it was a weak zoom, but it felt like 70s vintage footage, so we ended up using it. And the thing is, I knew it was there in post, even though I didn't pull it to my selects, because I watched everything. So make sure you watch it all, even if you shot it yourself. You don't want to miss some gem. I think back, and on shoots where I didn't do this, I could have had a brilliant shot that never saw the light of day. So make sure you watch everything. Tip number 9 is a little bit controversial, but I think it's okay to overshoot. I think back to so many shoots where we used content that I never thought I would use, like content that I didn't even mean to get. I just saw an opening next to the photographer, snuck in there, and then it ended up being a shot in an anthem that was seen by millions and millions of people. And you know, if I was trying to conserve card space, conserve drive space, I never would have got that shot. And maybe it ended up being the only shot we could use of that bathing suit because there was some weird stitching detail and it happened not to. You never know what you're gonna need in post, so overshoot. It's okay. I am here giving you permission. Elizabeth Cayouette said you could overshoot. That's what you can say when some editor yells at you. Do it. Overshoot. It's okay. If you don't use it, you know what? At least you didn't waste time when everyone spent so much time, money, energy, and creativity making a beautiful shoot happen. Overshoot. My 10th and most important tip is to have a good attitude on set. First off, being on set is a great networking opportunity. You never know when your producer will produce for another client and need a videographer, or when that makeup artist is on set and their videographer called out and they need someone to call. It's a great networking opportunity. But number 2, having a good attitude will make your work better because people will be willing to engage with you. They'll give you criticism, they'll give you compliments, they'll give you suggestions, they'll give you ideas, they'll tell you what they don't like and do like, and that is infinitely valuable, especially if it's coming directly from the client. You really want to get in their head, and being open, engaged, and a joy to be around is the best way to have an open dialogue with the people around you and to bring up the energy. You want everyone to be having a good time because if you're all in a bad mood, it'll be difficult for the models to bring it to. Thank you guys so much for listening to my 10 tips and tricks. Follow me on Instagram at Cayouette Media and check out Kai Creative, the business I started with the help of the Sony Alpha Female grant that's dedicated to getting young girls interested in video because the future of video is female. Thank you.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Elizabeth Cayouette and that incredible lesson in commercial video. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. So I should probably, for those of you who don't know, Elizabeth came into the family through the Alpha Female program. She's the first winner of this season's Alpha Female program, and she is just incredibly impressive, as you will see if you haven't realized that already from her video. She's the video lead for Airy by American Eagle. She's a video content creator. She has a viral TikTok, Instagram account called Betty's Book List. Like, she does it all. You do it all, and it's putting the rest of us to shame, Elizabeth.
So, oh man, you flatter me.
Not at all. And through the Alpha Female program for your grant project, you started Kai Creative, which is a space where girls can explore their interest in video. Why was that something that was important and interesting to you to do?
Well, you know, when I started working in video professionally, I realized that the sets and editing rooms that I entered were full of men. More often than not, I would be the only woman in the room or on the set outside, as it is. And I really wanted to change that. And I know that it can be extremely intimidating for young girls to get into video production and post-production at all because the classes are full of men and it can feel super intimidating and scary to ask questions. So I wanted to get young girls interested from an early age before they learn that they should be intimidated by a tech field or a male-dominated field. So I created tutorials and will be creating more and more tutorials designed to get young girls interested and encourage them to ask questions and practice their skills from a young age. So we can break down that gender gap at the earliest point, right when they're getting interested. So they never learn that they shouldn't be in that space because it is their space.
It is. Yeah, that's amazing. And we love being behind a project like that. So looking forward to all the stuff that you're going to put out. Now, how did you get started in video? And a lot of people are asking you this, so let's hear the story. How did you get into Airy as their lead video person?
Okay, so I'll take you back to the beginning. My first semester of college, freshman year, I did not think I was going to study video at all. I was a psych major, and I ended up switching my major the first week of college after taking one video class that was just a half course elective. And I instantly fell for it, and I knew that video was the path I wanted to be on. So I changed my major and poured everything I had into learning about video production, which was so amazing. I had a great mentor, but classes were still intimidating, obviously. That's why I made Kai Creative. But I ended up doing a project on Aerie by American Eagle, where I now work, and got in touch with their VP of marketing. So I stayed in touch with her and ended up interning with Aerie. At that time, Aerie and American Eagle's video teams were combined. So I was interning and working on Aerie and American Eagle content. Then, fast forward like 2 years, I decide I'm going to graduate college a full year early. So do it in 3 years. So I email my contacts at Aerie and let them know. And it just so happens to be perfect timing because they're splitting out the video teams and decided they wanted someone to spearhead Aerie content. So I don't work on American Eagle content. I am all Aerie. And that's the lingerie, swimwear, and athletic wear for women underneath American Eagle. I like to say that we're like a sister company. But I followed back up with them and basically just kept staying on top of it and networking. And then once the headcount opened up, so the summer after I graduated, I was offered a job with them, basically because I had interned there and made a really great project that was called Airy Real Talks that impressed the people who I was working for. And then I stayed on top of staying in touch with them so that they remembered me when an opening did arise. And I've been there ever since.
That's an amazing story, and I think it's not lost on a lot of people that you started early and you've kind of like just gone super fast into this career, and you're still incredibly young and so accomplished already. So
I've
some
been
really great
incredibly
lessons there.
lucky. Yeah, I
Well,
was so
yes,
lucky because they look at my skills, not at my age.
yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are like, oh, you need X number of years of experience. But because I was able to showcase my skills while I was interning, it really stood out and was what they remembered. So I was super, super fortunate. But I would say it's making your own luck, and anyone can go out there and do that.
That I was gonna say, the harder you work, the luckier you are. So you're definitely an example of that, and I think there's a great lesson there to be taken by our viewers, which is you just have to go get what you want, and you don't have to wait for someone to invite you to do it or for an opportunity to actually even exist, because for you kind of made the opportunity for yourself.
1000%. They didn't even have an internship program when I interned. I always make my own opportunities because I don't think that anyone should stop you from trying. Like, the only way you're going to get a firm no is by trying for a yes first. So always put your best foot forward and go after what you want.
That's very wise advice. Let's talk a little bit about the video part, the commercial video work that you're doing. A lot of people got a lot out of the class that you just taught. I could see it in the comments, so thank you for that. Um, what what would you tell to someone who doesn't have a big budget for commercial video? How should they approach that entire situation so that they actually end up with an extraordinary finished product, just as polished as anyone who has a big budget at their disposal?
I would say that if you have a small budget, you should use the budget you have to make sure that your project is lit well because bad lighting is so obvious, and good lighting makes everything look really high end. I've seen people shoot things on almost no money, literally in their living room of their own house. But if they light it well, you oftentimes would never know that they were shooting in their own house. It makes a world of difference, and that's where I would divert your funds to. The one exception being if your project has audio, that's another time where like low quality is glaring. So I would make sure that you prioritize that as well. But you really don't need to spend a ton to get a good product as long as you're willing to spend the time on it.
And I learned this from your class, but it sounds like the algorithms are so sensitive to all sorts of things, including the lighting in a video.
Definitely. The algorithms on TikTok are extremely advanced. Videos with better lighting will be promoted on the For You page. That's similar to what will happen on the Instagram Discover page. A video that's shot with good lighting will be promoted, and a video that's lit poorly or is really low quality will be like demoted in the algorithm, as in it won't show up on those valuable pages. The algorithm of TikTok is so incredibly advanced. It really blows my mind.
That's amazing to know. And as a follow up to the lighting piece, do you have a favorite lighting setup that people should look into?
Well, actually, I like to shoot with natural light. I've spent a lot of time working on like my own technique with natural light, and I would say the best thing that I have found, like my favorite shots that I've gotten were the result of getting up at 4 in the morning and shooting at sunrise and getting really great lens flares with natural light. I think it's worth it to get up early and get out there. And natural light is great because then you're not even renting lights. Like you just go with a couple bounce cards and a scrim and you're good to go.
That's another way in which you don't have to have a big budget, right? It's just chasing the
Definitely.
right light in nature.
You'll need people to hold the scrim and hold the bounce cards and help you, but you won't need to rent lights, which is quite expensive. And I love natural light. I honestly think that if you have the ability to use it, it always looks better. You could even get a giant mirror or reflector and reflect natural light inside through a window.
Oh, that's a great tip. How many people do you have on a team typically working with you on a video, on a commercial video shoot?
It really depends on the brand and the type of shoot. I do a lot of shoots where photo and video are working hand in hand. And say in total, including models, creative director, stylist, it could be as many as 25 people, including everyone. But it really depends on what you're shooting because I've also worked on sets, especially during COVID, that were extremely small and you're working on like a bare bones team with 6 people, especially back in the beginning of all this. I would say it's awesome and so, so helpful to have a full crew, but you can always make it work when you need to. I think we've all learned that in the last year and a half.
What are some of the things that you've done in the last year and a half that you're going to keep doing, even when everything, goes back to normal, let's call it?
Well, I'm definitely going to always fly with a mask. I travel constantly, and I just haven't gotten sick during the whole pandemic, really, because traveling with a mask is so helpful. And when you have the travel schedule of like a videographer, photographer, I'm sure you know that you get sick frequently because you're always in the airport.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I would say something that I've started doing more in the last year to kind of make use of doing so many shoots within the US has been experimenting in my edits. So I've done some much more stylized edits. For the last back to school campaign I did, it was heavily stylized for the 70s, and that was extremely fun. Like I shot on a vintage Super 8 camera, but also made like 4K high quality footage appear vintage through the use of adding grain and adding effects to it. And I think that was extremely fun. And I think brands have also been a bit riskier during COVID with their video content because video it has blown up so much thanks to TikTok. Brands have been taking more risks, in my opinion. And I think that is so amazing. And I hope that we all keep leaning into video more and doing more creative things and fun treatments.
Yeah, for sure. It has been probably the evolution of video has been much quicker, faster because of the situation we've been in. So a lot of people have started doing that instead of postponing and leaving it for a little later.
Yeah, the self-filmed content, UGC is user-generated content, and I have never seen such phenomenal things done with UGC as I have over the last year and a half. And I think it was out of necessity, but it's something that I hope to keep working with and doing because I think it resonates so well with viewers to see content from actual users of whatever the product is. And I think something that I've learned a lot about during the pandemic is crafting briefs so that individual creators are able to create content that works in my edit, and being extremely clear to help creators make exactly what I'm looking for. And I hope I keep working with all these awesome UGC creators.
So let's talk a little bit about that, about the process and how you plan a story. First of all, for commercial video, how important is the story? Because technically, people expect that you're not putting out a narrative. It's a lot of beauty shots and a lot of stuff that has to do with brand development. So, how important is the story planning?
I would say it really depends on the campaign, because for a big campaign like, say, back to school or summer, people will storyboard, and sometimes there is more of an arc. Generally, there's a message you're trying to get out with your campaign, a message for the season, even if there's not a storyline. If you see like some sportswear brands, they might have a clear storyline. But for most fashion ads, you're right, it is a lot of beauty shots and shots where the clothes look good. Sometimes we're watching the clothes just as much as we're watching what the models look like. But I would say that when it's your big hero campaign, you are storyboarding because you want to make sure you get all of the necessary components, and it helps people think about what they actually want. I think a lot of people are able to get much more an idea of what we're going to shoot into after we all look at a storyboard together. I think I lost some of your question in there, but I would say it really just depends how big the campaign is, whether you need to storyboard. But whenever you're doing something with transitions, you really need to plan out every single shot of the video, which is something that people would never spend time storyboarding a 20-second TikTok ad ever before. Like, that would be a crazy thought. But now that we're incorporating so many, honestly, advanced transitions in the video, you have to storyboard it because each shot is dependent on the shot before it and after it.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of UGC, which you just mentioned, do you see that becoming a much bigger part of commercial video going forward?
Definitely. I think you can already see in the ads that are on TV that UGC is huge. Like, we've seen everything from clothing companies to cell phone companies doing campaigns that incorporate UGC. Whether or not they're using true UGC is questionable. I think a lot of places use something that looks like UGC, but they actually helped produce, and it looks like UGC, and that's why it performs well. But I think on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, where like self-filmed content is the norm, content that blends in and looks self-filmed and looks like UGC is what is going to perform best, because users of the app will basically be tricked into not realizing it's an ad.
What traits do you need to have as a creator in order to make it in commercial video?
Oh, I think you need thick skin, because you're going to hear criticism all the time, and it's nothing personal to you at all. Everyone is trying to create a video that accomplishes a goal, but it's normal to get a lot of critique, and people may want changes that you don't agree with, but you just have to get used to hearing it and smile through it, and make sure that you have a good attitude so that people are comfortable giving you critique, because you want their ideas and their input so that you can make a project that your client is happy with. I
That's
also
really.
think that, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
I think it's important to be really good with talent. I think that's one of my strong suits, partially because I'm possibly closer in age to our talent compared to other people I've met who are out shooting. But I think that when you have a good relationship with the talent that you're shooting, you're able to get what you want from them and make a better product.
That makes a lot of sense, and that was one of your tips in the class that we went through about making relationships on set, and about networking and being open.
Everything is networking in the video industry. And I had no connections going in, so I've really worked at it.
Yeah, I bet. And you're probably going to be that person who's going to create opportunities for someone down the road as well.
I hope
Um,
so.
you probably have already. So, um, tell me a little bit more about what you do on TikTok. I think that's really interesting, and I'd love to know how much it is connected to your day job, let's call it, and how much it was just kind of like a something completely different, or wanting to do something completely different.
Well, I would say when I first got started on TikTok, it was on my like personal account, Cayouette Media. And I started experimenting there so I could learn about it and figure out how to make videos for Aerie do well, figure out what worked on TikTok, what didn't work, because it was pretty new at the time and a lot of it is trial and error. But then I started to feel like I had figured it out. So that's a tricky statement, but I felt like I knew some of the rules that would make content perform well. And I created a new account called Betty's Book List and followed these rules that I was trying to use to make my content go viral. So basically, I had content that was short, say 15 seconds or less, started direct to camera, well lit, so it was immediately engaging, had a good hook in the first line, played a trending song at 1% volume underneath my spoken audio, and I was acting as the main character in a book to pitch the book and then revealing that it was a book at the end of the video. And when I used the app, I only looked at content related to books because I was attempting to train the algorithm to know that I wanted book videos and it should show my videos to other people who wanted videos about books. And that's the most important thing. Like, you need to train your algorithm to make sense in what you're doing. So whenever I had a video that wasn't related to books, I would rapidly get rid of it so that the algorithm did not get confused. And after about 3 days, I think it figured itself out because my videos did start going viral. And I've been extremely fortunate. Like, in like 2 weeks, my account had ballooned to like over 200,000 followers. And the same techniques that worked there for the most part did work on Instagram Reels as well. So I was fortunate enough to go viral there too. And it's just been a crazy experience. But although I know it's the concept in part that makes the videos do well, I am a bit validated that following all of these TikTok hacks that I've deduced over time also worked, because I think that was part of it too.
That's an amazing story, and it just blows my mind every time, because I think a lot of people are under the impression that it's just like, you just throw a video up there, but the algorithm and understanding the science behind it is just so crucial
Yeah,
to
it really
success.
is. Some of it is just like you'll see stray random videos that do extremely well,
Yeah.
but it's not all random, and you can definitely put your best foot forward and follow the rules, so to speak, and see what works. It's extremely interesting. Like, for
So
example, on Instagram Reels, basically whatever reel that you share to your stories will get more views because it's getting more engagement from stories. It like promotes it. So there's little things like that that just will make your content perform better. But it has
so
been crazy. It's had like over,
experimentation.
yeah, it's all experimenting and figuring out what works, but I'm glad I could test it out like that. And it's been really fun. I did not expect such success with it.
That is so cool. I really love that story. Let's see. We have a question from Oscar here. Do you think brands are focusing more on video content creation rather than photography now? Where should we put our focus?
So I think that video is crucial now in a way that it never was before. And basically, brands need to create video content or they will fall behind. I do not know where the budget is going, though. I will say that. And I don't think brands are creating less photos because many photo needs are like for your website or store signage or things that cannot be replaced by a video necessarily. But I do think that we're seeing brands in all industries focusing more on video than ever before. And I do think video and short form video is the advertising method of the future because creating video content is normal for kids in a way that it never was before. They're consuming videos all day and they're creating advanced content at say 12 years old, 15 years old, they're creating video content that is extremely advanced. So I think to keep up with younger demographics, you really need to use video content because it holds the attention in a totally different way. And the length of content is totally different as well because the attention span of young people today is shorter than it ever has before.
Yeah,
So you can
very
drop off
true.
after like 5 seconds. Like
Yeah.
ads have to be short.
Yes, and people learn that the hard way on YouTube if they learn it. So just the cold open is always recommended because of it. Tell me a little bit more about what you're telling this younger generation of creators for Kai Creative or in general. Like, what is the advice that you give them for how they should approach a career in video?
Well, I think that video it's changing. You know, respect is being given to young creators, and I don't think that you necessarily have to put the time in like you did before. I think that with TikTok, the rules have changed, and you need to be able to create brilliant content. There's no, like, everyone is looking at quality, and I think that that matters above all else. But what I would tell young girls, like who Kai Creative is aimed at, is that this space is for them and the video industry is their space. No matter how male dominated it is right now, it is their space, it's their house, and they belong there just as much as anybody else. And we desperately need their perspectives. So I just want all young girls to feel welcome in the video industry because I think it will look totally different in 20 years, especially with all the creators that are starting young now. If you look at the top creators on TikTok, like I think 3 out of the top 4 are female. Like quality is what matters these days.
That's an amazing perspective, and that's definitely a message we can all get behind. So we're happy to support. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you for being here. Thank you for teaching an incredible class and for being part of our Alpha Female family. And I'm sure many more great things will come from our collaboration. So everyone stay
Thank you
tuned
so
to
much for
Elizabeth.
having me. Yeah, it's been so thrilling to be here. I've been so excited and I've loved working with Sony. Thank you so much.
Of course, our pleasure, and more to come. So everyone follow Kai Creative. There's some really exciting stuff coming from Elizabeth that you're not going to want to miss. So
thank you. Yes, Kai Creative, www.kaicreative.com. Check it out.
Perfect. Okay, thanks again, Elizabeth, and talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a good one.